Hello value investors, thank you for joining me. In today's video I want to talk about special situation investing. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe now so you can get my next value installment. Also, check out my marketplace on Seeking Alpha. I talk about which stocks I own and why, and I offer detailed analysis of the pros and the cons of each investment opportunity. So make sure to check that out. So let's get started. Special situations investing. Obviously Greenback came out with the book in 1996. You can be a stock market genius, sometimes called the little green book. So the way to think about special situations is when something extraordinary is happening to the company. Now this has a lot of appeal for a lot of followers of Greenblatt, myself included, and there's a lot of people doing kind of merge arbitrage. So this is not what I'm talking about. This is something totally different from that. So I'm not even talking about kind of idea of the spin-off when the company spins off something. I'm looking for a position where the business does get rid of a certain amount of an asset, but the financials kind of don't really align year over year. That's quite helpful, particularly when you come away from the large cap stocks, because a lot of large cap stocks have a huge following and you don't want to be necessarily competing with the rest of Wall Street. Okay, so there are plenty of opportunities. Even if you come, let's say, below 10 billion market cap, there's a lot of opportunities that are slightly less followed. Maybe just got, let's say, 3 or 4 analysts. Even if you come a little bit less, let's say 5 billion, in the 5 billion market cap, you got a lot more opportunity because it's less followed and you're still getting quite a high quality business. Now, what happens is when the business gets rid of or disposes of an underperforming asset, what is left is a leaner structure. So in the best case scenario, the business gets disposed at a bit of cash, you pay down the debt, and what's left, not only do you have less debt, but you also have that higher margins. So this is something that has a lot of appeal because it's kind of a little bit more complicated. Not a lot, but a little bit more complicated. On the other side of the coin, I've often felt that when the investment thesis is a little bit too complicated, it sometimes doesn't work out. So you kind of try and over intellectualize the thesis and things don't really work out. So I think that go for something that's very, very simple. It's very clear. They're getting rid of asset A, and what's left, asset B, is going to be stronger. That can work out. So ideally, I have found in my experience, this type of divestitures happen when the CEO has a lot of stock in the company, because what happens is on the other side of the equation where you have stuff like IBM, which is just like empire building. It's like you don't want to be in that situation. It does make quite a bit of a difference when the CEO or the chairman holds quite a lot of stock, because they're aligned. Their incentives are very much aligned. Remember what Charlie Munger says, you got to find out what people's incentives, because incentives are the key driver of shareholder return. So I'll give you an example of a special situation and what you should not look out for. So I've got a video about HPE, and they were going to be acquired by Xerox, and then that deal fell through, and HPE said, okay, so we are going to look out and we're going to make a huge number of share repurchases. In my opinion, my professional opinion, if that is the key thesis of the investment, that they're going to do a lot of share repurchases, it doesn't necessarily work out. It doesn't mean that it excludes the investment from being a strong potential, but don't be the only thing that you're going to have a lot of shareholder repurchases, because you need the business to grow its intrinsic value. And businesses that you either up or out, because ultimately if the business is not able to grow, it's not able to be more relevant, there's going to be only a certain amount of buying power and then it's not going to go any further. Look at IBM. IBM said that, I can't remember, it was 2016 or something, that they're going to make something like 100 billion buyback of their stock, and the street just didn't give him any credit for that. They said, nah, unless you're going to grow your revenues, it doesn't matter to us. And look where IBM is now. So obviously they cut back on that. Like the share repurchases just stopped straight away because they want to be investment grade now. So they're going to pay down their debt instead. So the business, when it comes to special situations, it needs to be quite clear. It needs to be something that ideally is led by a CEO that has a lot of stock. So it needs to be something that is very much incentivized to grow, to be leaner, meaner, at the same time expanding margins. Because if the business is just saying, okay, we're going to divest of asset A, and then we're going to take those shares and repurchase a lot of our stock, that is not a very compelling thesis. Hope you found this video useful. Remember, check out my marketplace. I've got a lot of stocks that I own, and I'll tell you which stocks I own, why, the pros and the cons of each investment. Hope you found this useful. I'll see you soon.